The creek had risen 6 feet in as many hours, and Catherine Mitchell stood waist-deep in freezing water, fighting to save her terrified mare. Behind her, half the town's winter stores spun downstream like children's toys. She'd already lost her husband to this cursed Montana territory. She'd be damned if she'd lose her livelihood too. But saving her horse would cost her everything she thought she knew about survival and love. Drop your location in the comments, and if you love historical Western romance, hit that subscribe button. What happens next will leave you breathless. Catherine had learned 3 truths in 27 years. Men died easy in Montana. Debts came due no matter what. And the only person you could rely on was yourself. That 3rd truth was about to be tested. Mrs. Mitchell, for God's sake, get out of there. James Thornton, owner of Silver Ridge Ranch and the most insufferable man in the territory, sat astride a bay gelding, his dark eyes sharp with unwanted concern. The mare's caught. Catherine shouted. I can get. The wave hit. Brown water. Thrashing hooves. Lungs screaming. Then strong hands caught her, hauling her against warm man and horse. She coughed creek water onto James Thornton's expensive coat. Got you, he rumbled. And the mare? I had it handled, she snapped. You had drowning handled. His arm tightened as they rode. Stubborn seems to run in your family. That stung because he'd known her late husband Robert well enough to make the comparison. They reached Mitchell Freight, and Catherine's heart shattered. Wagons destroyed. Barn collapsed. Winter stores gone. Everything Robert had built wiped out in 6 hours. Your freight office is underwater. Your barns collapsed. James paused. And Patterson at the bank is planning to foreclose next week. The world tilted. She was finished. James draped his coat around her shaking shoulders. I have a proposition. Before you refuse like the last 3 times, hear me out. This time, I'm not offering charity. What he offered next would change both their lives forever. My daughter needs a governess. Someone educated, tough, not afraid of Montana winters. His eyes held hers. 1 year. I pay your debts. You teach Emma and help manage the household. At the end, you own Mitchell Freight free and clear, no strings. You can rebuild it, sell it, or burn it down. Your choice. It was too generous. But she was standing in ruins. The bank would take it anyway. Catherine took his hand. 1 year. In writing. Legal and binding. Approval flickered across his face. I wouldn't expect less. As they rode toward Silver Ridge Ranch, Catherine looked back once, then forward at the unknown. She'd survived losing Robert. She'd survived a Montana winter alone. She could survive James Thornton for a year. She had no idea she was riding toward something far more dangerous than survival. Papa. A 10-year-old girl burst from the ranch house, all flying braids and bright eyes. Emma, this is Mrs. Mitchell. She'll be staying with us. James's voice warmed when he spoke to his daughter. You're all wet, Emma observed. Are you hurt? Just waterlogged. Like a creek log. Emma's face lit up. Mrs. Lynn says we have to warm people slowly or their hearts stop. Within the hour, Catherine found herself in a copper tub, wearing a dead woman's dress, sitting at a table for 12. Tell me about your education, James said over supper. What qualifies you? Catherine met his gaze. Seminary in St. Louis. I can read, write, cipher, keep ledgers, negotiate contracts. I assisted my husband for 5 years. I can also shoot, ride, and solve problems under pressure. She paused. If that's not enough, you should have been more specific. Something sparked in his eyes. Challenge appreciated. Emma giggled. James's mouth twitched. For 3 weeks, life fell into careful rhythm. Catherine taught Emma, managed the household, and tried desperately to ignore how James watched her like a man dying of thirst. She was failing at that last part. And then the Cattlemen's Association came calling. Catherine heard shouting from the yard. 3 armed men surrounded James' rough types with cruel eyes. Emma, go to your room. Now. Catherine grabbed the rifle and stepped onto the porch. Last time, Thornton, the scarred leader snarled. The association wants you to sign on, or your herd gets scattered to Canada. I don't join outfits that use intimidation, Blackwell. James's voice was dangerous. Silver Ridge runs independently. Might want to reconsider, seeing as you've got a young daughter. Catherine stepped forward, rifle ready. Mr. Thornton, is there a problem? James's jaw tightened, but he didn't order her back. I'm sure there isn't. Catherine smiled pleasantly. But since Mrs. Lynn is starting supper, are these gentlemen staying or leaving? Blackwell's eyes raked over her with contempt. Playing house with a widow woman, Thornton? James stepped forward, violence coiling. Catherine moved between them, still smiling. I'm Miss Emma's governess. Now, supper, staying or leaving? Because I'd hate to waste food on guests who aren't civil. Blackwell blinked in confusion as Catherine kept talking, deliberately dismissive. We're leaving, he finally spat. But think about that little girl, Thornton. Protection or problems? Your choice. If you threaten my daughter again, James said quietly, we'll be having a reckoning. After they rode off, Catherine lowered the rifle, hands shaking. You had no business, James started. Emma is my responsibility. And you were about to do something stupid. She walked past him. If they come back, I won't just stand here. I'll use it. That night, everything changed. After Emma slept, James knocked with whiskey and 2 glasses. Peace offering. Catherine let him in, conscious of her nightdress and loose hair. I was angry at myself for putting you in danger, he said, pouring. And then something else when I realized you were protecting me. Who are they really? He looked bone-tired. The Cattlemen's Association started with good intentions. Now they want control. Anyone who doesn't join faces accidents. Fences cut. Cattle disappeared. Barns burned. And if you don't join, we prove independent ranchers can thrive. He drank deeply. I won't be bullied, Catherine. But there's risk. If you want to leave, I'll pay your debts anyway. No. Catherine, first time he'd used her name. I'm not leaving. Emma counts on me. And you need someone to keep you from getting killed over pride. It's not pride. It's principle. In Montana, the line between those is thin. She stood. Except you're stuck with me. He looked at her, something shifting. You're remarkable. I'm practical. There's a difference. Maybe it's the same thing, and you just don't want to admit your own worth. He was close now. Close enough she could smell whiskey and leather, see silver in his hair, watch his gaze drop to her mouth. James. I know. He stepped back. Good night. And thank you. After he left, Catherine pressed her flushed cheeks. This was dangerous. Wanting things she had no business wanting. Feeling alive when she'd promised never to risk her heart again. But lying in darkness, she couldn't regret the flutter when he'd said her name. Spring deepened. Trouble came. A fence cut. 50 cattle scattered. A supply wagon ambushed. Someone tried to burn the hay barn. James held his ground. Documented everything. Refused to retaliate. The strain showed in his shoulders. Papa's worried, Emma confided. Were you scared when your husband died? Catherine looked at the girl's serious face. I was trying to survive. Sometimes that meant making hard decisions and accepting unwanted help. She tucked Emma's hair. Your father's doing the same. Emma's hand slipped into hers. I'm glad you're here. James entered, grim, telegram in hand. The marshal was sending an investigator. But the association already knew. And they wouldn't wait. The investigator's stagecoach was attacked. Driver shot. Investigator beaten. Message received. The association was untouchable. That's it, said the foreman. We join or fight. Fighting is suicide. Catherine stepped forward. Or you could be smarter. All eyes turned. They want you to fight. Want violence to justify control. She moved to the desk. You've documented everything. Don't go to territorial authorities, go bigger. Contact newspapers in San Francisco, Chicago, New York. The Secretary of the Interior. Make this a national story. She paused. Watch how fast they back down when the whole country's watching. Silence. That's brilliant or insane, Tom said. Both, James said, looking at Catherine. And it might work. He turned to Tom. Get the other independents. We're going to war, but not the kind Blackwell expects. Alone, James crossed to her. You're making enemies. I already have enemies. Her heart hammered. Someone has to keep you alive. Is that all? His fingers brushed her cheek. Because you've become more than Emma's governess. You've become the reason I remember what it feels like to want something beyond survival. The door crashed open. Boss. Riders coming. 15 riders surrounded the house at sunset. Blackwell at their head. We know you're calling newspapers, involving Washington. Sign now, or we burn you out. James appeared on the porch, unarmed. You'll have to come through me first. And through reports already sent to 3 newspapers and the Interior Department. James's voice was steady. You're too late. The story's out. Burn us down and you prove everything we said. It was a bluff. They hadn't sent reports yet. But Blackwell didn't know. You're lying. Am I? Willing to bet everything on that. I documented every threat with witnesses and dates. If anything happens to me, it goes public. The whole country will know the association uses murder and intimidation. The standoff stretched. Catherine barely breathed. One of Blackwell's men spoke. Boss, maybe. This isn't over, Thornton. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. The riders withdrew. Catherine flew down the stairs and threw herself at James, rifle clattering. You magnificent, terrifying idiot. His arms came around her. Says the woman ready to die for a ranch that isn't hers. It is mine. This place. Emma. You. Her voice broke. You're all mine, and I'll be damned if I let anyone take you from me. His eyes blazed. Catherine. I love you. I'm terrified and I don't care if it's too soon because you made me want to live again. He kissed her hard, desperate, full of everything neither could say. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. I still love Elizabeth. I always will. Catherine's heart cracked. But I love you too. Your stubborn pride, practical solutions, how you make Emma laugh. How you made this house yours without asking permission. He breathed. Marry me. Not as arrangement. Because I want every day watching you be remarkable. Yes. Absolutely yes. He kissed her again slower, deeper, full of promise. Emma's delighted squeal echoed. We should actually send those reports, Catherine murmured. Tomorrow. Tonight. Let's celebrate being alive. And together. Together. I could get used to that. Good. You're stuck with me now. Promise. Promise. They married 3 weeks later. The independent ranchers came united now with James as president. The federal investigation had dismantled the corrupt association. Catherine wore Elizabeth's wedding dress with Emma's blessing. It felt like acceptance of past, present, future. Emma climbed into Catherine's lap. Can I call you Mama now? Catherine's eyes burned. I'd be honored. Good. Because you're my Mama now. And I'm never letting you leave. I'm not going anywhere. This is home. Catherine leaned into James and thought about her path. She'd lost everything, been dragged half-drowned from a creek, faced armed men and ruin. But she'd found love in the last place she'd expected in a stubborn rancher and his daughter. She'd found purpose. She'd found home. The creek had swept away everything she'd built. And somehow, impossibly, it had brought her here to this moment, this man, this life worth living. Catherine Mitchell Thornton smiled and took her husband's hand. It had been the beginning of everything. If you loved this story, click the video on your screen now for another epic frontier romance. Subscribe for more, drop a comment with your favorite moment, and we'll see you in the next story. Thank you for being here.